So I seem to be moving on Periscope. Thank you for joining me. So let's get into the news. The first news I wanted to talk about today is that PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, I think that stands for, is filing for bankruptcy in the Northern District of California. And if you remember, the story goes that this huge fire that with 86 deaths, I think, and billions of dollars in property damage was caused by a downed power line. Now, the interesting thing for me was that the 86 deaths, 14,000 homes, 500 businesses, and 43 other buildings. The interesting thing for me was down here in the fine print, PG&E found power equipment and a fallen power pole riddled with bullet holes. Another down line had tree branches on it. The implication is that that the branches were put onto the power line and the bullet holes, somebody shot down the power pole. I don't know who did that. Who would do such a thing? 86 deaths. I wouldn't want to be them on Judgment Day. But the the bottom line here, the sort of bottom line is that the bigger you are, the more protection you have. And so I did work for Chicago Cutlery, the knife company, and they were telling me why they wanted to go direct. They had a toll-free number stamped on the bottom of their fry pans. They also made General Housewares makes Chicago Cutlery and also makes a really nice line of like a Calphalon kind of fry pan. Beautiful fry pan. I have one of those. Anyway, they said that when Walmart declared bankruptcy, it was just like, we're keeping your inventory and we're going to pay you 10 cents on the dollar. And they said every few years, a big retailer, huge retailer, just declares bankruptcy. And it's really tough for the manufacturers and for the people that source these places. I had a friend who sourced to Walmart, and he said it was 120. Their payment was 120 days from the date of purchase of the consumer purchasing it. So the inventory in Walmart, by and large, is on consignment, and Walmart doesn't pay for it until after it sells. And I took a battery back this weekend for my snowblower, and they don't mind, not at all, because they haven't paid for it yet, and they're going to ding the manufacturer on it because it didn't charge up. So if you wonder why a Toys R Us goes out of business, some of the business practices in retail are very, very difficult to deal with. I'm not a big fan of Amazon because they don't let you, the vendor, talk to the consumer. You can know who they are, but you're not supposed to mail them. And the truth is, when we do look at Amazon customers, people who buy regularly through Amazon, buy merchandise from a client, we find that they're hardly worth mailing, or even when you can. When they bought from you and they bought from Amazon and we see them buy again, it's still not worth it. So retail is tough, and a lot of it's because of the protections that we bequeath in our industry, or in our country. Okay, so here's an interesting one. I thought this was a pretty good topic. It was a pretty good question. What makes a marketing visionary? I wrote an article back in '95 when email was really coming on. When it was first available. You could do it on CompuServe and some other of the existing networks, but it really opened up in '95. And I said, as the cost per contact decreases, the care per contact will decrease. And I think that's been really true. And so I consider myself a marketing visionary. I pioneered predictive modeling, and we still seem to be ahead of everybody because we beat them in head-to-head tests. But that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for being customer-centric. I always wonder about that. Does that mean as a vendor that I care about my clients, or I care about my clients' customers? I don't know. I used to joke when we were talking about database marketing. I said, what we were really doing is marketing databases. We weren't you know, we didn't know if these would help you or hurt you as far as your actual marketing to consumers was. Transforming the culture. Again, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of diversity in TV commercials that you see nowadays in all sorts of directions, but I did a story a couple of months ago about how the ad agencies of the world aren't very diverse, that most of the senior management goes to private colleges, and you know, that's just not diverse. That doesn't mean it's terrible. I don't think it is. I think diversity of ideas is more important. But anyway, transforming the culture, transforming the technology, and again, then I had a hand in the transformation of the technology by a lot, because one of my first talks was the use of computers in marketing, and no one had one. I think 2 out of 30 or 40 people at the DMA show in New York City at the downtown Hilton, and there were big companies there. Nobody had any idea how to apply computers to marketing. So I guess I pioneered some stuff in there. I wasn't up for this. I didn't get nominated. I didn't nominate myself. I don't know any of those people. So we'll just go on. Here was another interesting. I downloaded this from First Logic, but I got it off of Target Marketing site. So 6 solid reasons for improving address quality. And you laugh and scoff and say, who needs a street address? We have email. We have IP address. We have a direct connection from your Facebook account or whatever it is, you know. So here's a couple of reasons. Reason 1, address data is key customer ID information. I'm working with a company right now, and you know, the problem with a lot of ERP systems, we don't want to get too technical for you here, but the big problem is that every time a customer comes on and orders, the ERP system will give that customer a new customer ID. And this is pretty common. We've had this problem with SAP, with AX, and with the Mac system. But anyway, so we were always matching back, trying to figure out who's who and who's a multi-buyer and who isn't. In fact, we did a system for E-Trade, and they had endless tables, but they would use a cookie as the customer looped through different servers and utilized different services, and then they didn't keep the cookie. So they knew who they were when they logged on. They had their customer identity, and they had their customer identity when they went and looked at, you know, maybe looked at starting a savings account or something with E-Trade. But when they left, they had no concurrent identity. And so there's a lot of reasons to use address as an anchor for your marketing. And I think people are losing sight of that. There turns out to be a lot of really important things. Reason 3, regulatory compliance. This is a big one.